Hello and welcome to part 3 of my video review series on the Derya Melik pistol. If you have not already seen parts 1 and 2, make sure you watch those so you have all relevant information for this installment. Links will be in the video description. Following the extractor cleaning found in part 2, I went back to the range to see if there was a reliability improvement. Unfortunately, the extraction failures continued at a similar rate. This first failure was easily cleared by racking the slide a few times. On the second magazine, I practiced controlled pairs with double action to single action transition. This magazine ran without any stoppages. The third magazine also ran without any hiccups. Mag 4 brought frustration and 2 extraction failures. I cleared the first by pulling the case with my fingers. And the second one I cleared by applying additional pressure to the extractor claw while racking the slide. Remember this detail because it's important later. The fifth mag ran without issue. Even so, with 3 failures and 50 rounds and my hands getting colder, I stopped and called it quits to take another whack at the extractor problem. Something I haven't mentioned yet is that following the first 100 rounds, I immediately contacted Rock Island customer service to look for a solution. Rather than sending the pistol in, I requested they send me a replacement extractor since the problem seemed pretty obvious. The customer service rep put my request through but was unable to guarantee part delivery. Without much further contact, their support team did send me a new extractor and spring at absolutely no cost. Since I was experiencing continued failures and didn't know the status of the replacement part from Rock Island, I also decided to order a Beretta extractor kit. Looking at the replacement parts sent by Rock Island, I was punched in the face with the substantial finish wear on the new extractor. Comparing the parts' shape, they were visually identical, with only finish wear being the noticeable difference. The springs were also clearly made of the same material through the same process. As I mentioned in part 2, my spring that came with the pistol had some bend in it, and that wasn't present on the new spring but likely would happen over time. Examining the Beretta parts, you will immediately notice the red paint for loaded chamber indication. The Beretta extractor also had a more uniform finish. Comparing the Beretta extractor to the Rock Island one, they were similar but not identical. Something I want to highlight is the difference in shape of the extractor claw from one to the other. Another observation is that the Beretta kit included a flat wire spring, where the Melik spring is a standard coil. I decided to see if the Beretta extractor had any difference in weight. The difference was a negligible 0.21 grams. After installing the Beretta extractor, I was unhappy with the fit. You can see here the grasp on the casing is minimal. I swapped between the original extractor, replacement extractor, and Beretta extractor several times and came to the conclusion that none of them fit properly. I realized the problem was that none of the extractors had enough clearance to get a firm grip on the brass. I decided the part needed to be fit, so I ground a minimal amount of material off the extractor claw to create a larger gap from the breech face to the extractor claw. After grinding, I polished to remove any burrs. The final result is shown here. On final installation, I used the Beretta's flat spring and pin with the original Melik's extractor being modified. Heading back to the range, the reliability saw a small increase, now making it to 29 rounds without a stoppage. Unfortunately, round number 30 did have the same failure to extract. On this range session, I decided to shoot 250 rounds to really get a good feel for whether this modification was going to be successful or not. I'm going to blaze through this range footage with a little summary slide at the end. We'll discuss then. As you can see here, this 250 round range trip included 11 total extraction failures and 1 failure to feed. I've included a breakdown of the type of extraction failure you can see here. Comparing this trip's data to the first 150 rounds, we can see our failure percentage dropped from 6% down to 4.4%. At the range, it anecdotally felt like the failures got more frequent later in the session. Examining the extractor at home, I saw some deformation on the newly ground edge, which could explain some of my anecdotal experience. I decided I was finished messing around with Rock Island extractors because I believed them to be made of low-grade materials and not worth the trouble. At this point, I was pretty frustrated with my experience with this pistol and ready to give up. Fortunately, I was given a second win, so to speak, when my wife gave me a Beretta 92X Centurion for Christmas. Make sure to join me for part 4 coming very soon as we turn the corner on these problems and actually get some results.